What is going on YouTube? It's the Pizza Guy John. We're going to be doing a live dough making video. Just going to wait for some people to come on. What is going on? What is going on? We'll wait till 5. What's going on YouTube? Welcome back to my channel. We are doing a live pizza dough video. First video ever live making pizza dough. So we're just going to wait for a couple of people to jump on. Then we'll get into making some pizza dough. I have everything here behind me and we'll get into that just a little bit. So we'll wait about 3 minutes, wait for some people to get on. Then we'll go through the steps and everything, how I make my pizza dough. I want pizza dough for Saturday or for Sunday. So I'm doing 48-hour pizza dough. So I'll show you all that. We'll just wait for some people. Let's see. I want that off. So we'll give it 2 more minutes, 2 more minutes. This is everything that we have. We have our bread flour. Here is the recipe that we'll be doing here just in a bit. So again, here's the recipe. Here's my stand. So wait 2 more minutes, 2 more minutes. Got my scales. Water's already weighed out. Here's the yeast and here's the salt. This is everything that you need to make some pizza dough, minus the bread flour, which I have down, or the 00 flour, which I have right there. But right now I got the bread flour because we're doing 20% bread flour, but I'll go into that here shortly. Again, here's the recipe. What's going on? If you're just logging in, I'll be making some live pizza dough, take you through the steps that I take. I'm using bread flour, and then I got my 00 flour. I have all my ingredients here that I need. So we'll just wait a couple more minutes, get some more people on, and then we'll get going. All right, what's going on YouTube? It's the Pizza Guy John. We're going to be making some live pizza dough. This is the first time I've made pizza dough live on live stream. So we're going to see how that's going to work out. I'm going to take you guys through all the steps. I'll show you guys the recipe that we're going to be doing, and I'll show you all the ingredients. So let's take a look and see what we got here. So this is basically the breakdown of the recipe. I'm going to be doing 4 pizzas at 260 grams, 65% hydration, and it's going to be a 48-hour dough. Again, right there it says 24 hours, but we're going to be doing 48 hours. This is the breakdown formula based on baker's percentage. So we're at 100% flour, 65% water, 2% salt, and 0.3% yeast. Again, this is the formula here. For 4 pizzas at 260 grams, this is the amount of dough. So dough weight is 1,040 as well. And basically we just break it down. So we could do 140 divided by 167, which is the baker's unit. So 6.21. Over here, 6.21 times all of the percentages, and breaks it down of total ingredients that we need. I'm doing 20% bread flour. Feel that it gives a little bit more flavor, gives off a little stronger flavor as well for the dough. So I'm doing 497 grams of 00, 124 grams of bread flour, 404 grams of water, 12.42 grams of salt, and 1.86 grams of yeast is right here. Let me actually put a point. And so this is the breakdown of the formula here. Again, it's a 48-hour dough. I have all my stuff here. I got the bread flour. I got my two different scales. This is the big scale for heavy, and then I got the small scale. That's going to be for the yeast and for the salt. Mainly it's used for yeast because we're doing such a small amount. You want to get a small scale like that. I have my water weighed out, which is 404 grams, my yeast, the salt, and everything here that I need to weigh out all the ingredients. So that was like that. My spoon, and of course my whisker here as well. So let's go ahead. I'm gonna get you guys set up here, and we'll go ahead and get to weighing out all of our ingredients. So let's get that there. All right. So like I said, we are doing 400, um, actually 497 grams of the 00. So let's go ahead and do that. Get my scale here. What's going on? If you're just tuning in, I'm making some dough. And so I'm going to do my 00 flour. I have 497 grams of 00 flour. So that is at 0. And go ahead and get that out here. And if you're just tuning in, again, we're making some live pizza dough. Drop some comments, some questions. I'll try to get some questions answered if I'm able to. We're going to go ahead now. 497 grams of 00. So 444. And let's go ahead. Share this live. Let's get some more people in here. And again, 497. 495. 497. So that's 497 grams of 00. All right. And then we need 124 grams of bread flour. Again, you could use any type of bread flour. I'm using some King Arthur flour. So 124 grams. I'm just going to go ahead and get that in here. And normally I don't do bread flour, but I'm just experimenting, and it's always about learning and trying new things. So just gonna try this. So we need 124. And if it goes over, that's fine. And just a little bit more. 124, actually. 124. 125. Actually, let's take a little bit out. Perfect. So we got that. And so now we're going to go ahead and weigh out our yeast. So we're going to put this to the side. And again, if you're just tuning in, this is the recipe that I'm doing here for 4 pizzas at 260 grams. I'm doing this bottom part. So I just did 497 grams of 00 flour, 124 grams of bread flour. I'm going to do 1.86 grams of yeast and 12.42 grams of salt, and then 404 grams of water. So let's go ahead and do our yeast. Get that on. And these little guys are perfect for weighing out yeast. Again, you want a small scale just like this. Now we'll get you a little bit lower. could see. Okay. And again, 1.87 grams of yeast. This I do a instant yeast. You could use active, but I like an instant because you don't have to activate it or anything like that. So we're looking at 1.87. And because this is a 48-hour, it's a slow fermentation, you don't need a lot of yeast in here. So 187, and too much there. So we'll just go ahead and take a little bit out. So what's going on if you're just tuning in, we're making some live pizza dough. 187. Drop some comments. Let me know what you guys are doing up to this weekend. Who's making pizza? If you're not, I definitely do so. I'm going to go ahead and share that recipe again. So 187. And then we need 12.42 grams of salt. So I'm going to go ahead and get that weighed out here. 12.42 grams of salt. Let me know if you could see that. So it goes pretty quick. We're at 12.69, 1240, 1243. 1241, 41, 1242. Perfect. So I'm just get some of this out. And what's going on? If you're just tuning in, I'm making some pizza dough. I'm just right now just weighing out all my ingredients. Here is the recipe that we're going to be following. 497 grams double zero flour, 124 bread flour, 404 grams of water, 12.42 grams of salt, which we just did, and 1.86 grams of yeast. So we have everything weighed out. At this point, I'm going to go ahead and just move this around. Turn it this way. So this is all the flour here. This is again the double zero and just the regular bread flour, just doing a little something different. At this point, we'll go ahead and get our salt added in here. If you have any comments, drop down your comments down below or some chat. Let's get the chat going. All right. And I'm just going to go ahead with my dough whisk. I'm just going to kind of mix that around, get that yeast incorporated. Again, I'm using an instant dry yeast. You could use active. Again, instant I like because I don't have to activate it or anything like that. I just toss it in there. All right. And I've already weighed out my water, so I'm not going to have to go through anything there. But let me go ahead and take a look and see, do we have any questions? Like this video. All right. This is the water, 404 grams of water. So I'm going to get just about 80% of that in there and save the rest for later. Put that to the side. What's going on? If you're just tuning in, we're making some pizza dough live. And so right now I'm just going to go ahead and mix this around. And so just getting this, I'm using again a dough scraper, dough whisk here. Let's actually try to get you up a little bit more. All right, let me know, how do you guys like that view? First time tuning in, I appreciate you all. And we'll have a new video coming out this weekend. So if you guys have any questions, drop it down. Let's get this chat going. Let's see what we got here. Thank you. I appreciate that half braided clips. I really do appreciate that. I think if you're into making pizza and you feel like it's going to be something that you're going to do, I personally think it's a good investment. You can make pizzas for yourself, make pizzas for family. I think it's just a wonderful thing. So, maybe if you're not on, maybe if you're on the good list, maybe Santa will bring you a pizza oven. Check out Gosney right now. There is a couple of giveaways going on with Gosney. So follow them on Instagram. I believe Gosney has a giveaway with Bianco. There's also some ambassadors as well that are also doing some giveaways. So, definitely check that out as well. Maybe you might get lucky and win a pizza oven. All right, so at this point, we kind of got everything mixed around. And I'm gonna go ahead and just get this off this part here. And I'll actually move you guys around to get a better view. Again, this is my first time doing a live video, so let me know. We'll definitely do some of these videos. But if you're just tuning in, we are making pizza dough live, so I appreciate you tuning in, showing you guys all my steps along the way. So let me go ahead and get this camera moved around. Hey, can you show us how to make a starter? How many days needed to ferment it in cold fridge? So as far as the starter, sourdough starter, I've never really done one. I do have one that I have in my fridge. Unfortunately, I don't really use it. But I do have a sourdough starter. If I learn how to do it and I perfect it, or even if not, maybe I'll make a video and show you guys how to do it. Maybe I could just do like a short clip of it. But yeah, definitely. NJ, thank you so much. I am doing really well. Holidays are coming up, so just busy with that. Hope you're doing well as well. And so here at this point, I'm just going to go ahead. I'm just kneading it, getting all the dry pieces incorporated. And so again, you're just kind of kneading it, getting everything incorporated, flipping it around. We still have the salt that we haven't added, which we'll do here shortly. And I do have about 10 to 20% of the water. Let me show you guys the recipe if you're just tuning in as well of what we're doing. And so this is the recipe breakdown. If you want to do a screenshot, the main ingredients formula is going to be here for just all bread flour, or for 00 flour. And down below here, I'm doing 20% bread flour, 00 water, salt, and all that here. So if you guys want to take a screenshot of that, this is again the recipe that I'm following today. What's up, Lee Danley? Happy holidays to you as well. Let's go ahead and get another screenshot if you guys want. All right, so let's go ahead and continue. This is a 48-hour pizza dough, so I'm making it today, and then it will be ready for Sunday's pizzas I'll be making. And I'll also do another live video on Sunday, so if you guys want to tune in there as well, it will be a live video of making some pizzas. So we're just going to be kneading this. Mainly, I try to go for about 8 to 10 minutes of hand kneading. Of course, if you're using a mixer, then it takes a little bit shorter period of time. So it's just kind of playing around with whatever works for you. Guys have any comments, let me know. All right. So as you can see, everything is coming together. There's really not too much dry anymore flour on the bowl. So at this point, I'm just going to be kneading it in the bowl. That way I'm not really dirtying this area, the surface. You could also continue doing the bowl or on your surface area. Again, that's up to you. All right. So we're just kneading this. I'm I'm not going to try to talk too much because kneading and talking, it will take the air out of me. So it's going to go ahead. Just come around just to see if I have any questions. So again, I thank you guys all for tuning in. Of course, if you're just tuning in, we're making some pizza dough. So I'll take you through the steps, or I'll show you the recipe here again for the new people. But let's see what questions we got here. Can I use Bob's Red Mill Artisan Bread Flour? Contains malt. More burn like money paper and mini pizza oven. So I'm not really too familiar with the Bob's Red Mill, but if it does have malt in there, that does contain, I guess, some sugar, so it will brown. So I would just kind of make sure you're watching in the oven, making sure that it's not getting too dark. But if you do like that, a dark crust, then that's fine. So yeah, to make Napoli pizza, some Napoli pizzas. Yeah. So yeah, you could definitely use that flour. I would just kind of stay away from like store-bought pre-made doughs because they tend to have a lot of sugar. And in a high oven, it will cook pretty quick. You could do it, but just again, making sure you're kind of watching it, how hot the oven is and all that. So I'm just kneading it and then flipping it over. So at this point, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and get the salt added and the water. I'm going to go ahead and bring the recipe around. So if you're just tuning in, we're making some live pizza dough. And so here is the formula. I'm sticking to this bottom part. Yeah, and this is my first live video. All right, so again, I have 497 grams of bread flour, or 497 grams of double zero, 124 bread, 404 grams of water, 12.42 grams of salt, and 1.86 of yeast is the recipe that I'm doing. Go ahead and take a screenshot of that if you want. All right, so let's get to adding the salt. And please bear with me again. I'm a little out of breath talking and kneading, so I apologize if you don't want to hear that. All right, so out of the rest of the water, the salt. Now at this point, I'm just kind of doing a squeeze, and that's just getting the water in there as well as helping that salt also get in there. Flipping it, squeezing it. And again, if you have other techniques that you do, then, that's totally fine. Again, just is what works for me. And so excuse the sounds, but you can see there's still some water, there's still some salt, which is fine. Once you continue kneading, it's going to basically incorporate it all in there. So don't be too worried about any of that. Again, you're just squeezing it, getting that added in there. All right. And so now at this point, I'm just going to go ahead and continue kneading it. And again, I apologize for the sounds. Again, it's just the water getting incorporated into this dough. But just a couple minutes of this, then it kind of stops that because everything is then incorporated. So just getting this added. So it's getting a little bit less, it's getting a little bit more, water is getting more incorporated. Still a little sticky, but that's fine. Maybe not even halfway into the kneading that we need. But if you feel when you're making dough and it's getting too sticky and it's not getting to a point where it's getting to the right consistency that you want of an actual dough, then of course you could add, a little flour, little by little, to kind of start getting that in there. And also just doing a 15-minute rest period cover, that would also kind of help it as well. So let's go ahead and continue. We need to come around, see if we have any questions. Excuse me. All right, so question here, what oven will you be using? I'll cook this pizza. So maybe I should do a poll. I have a couple options of ovens, um, you know, and so maybe I could start a poll and see what you guys think, which actually is going to do that. See if I know how to do that. So I got a couple options here. I have, let's see, which oven. So I have the dome, and I could do wood on that. I then have the Arc XL, and then the Rockbox. So let's go ahead and start a poll here then. Let me know if you guys see that poll. That way we could go ahead and see. I'll leave it up to you guys. Let's see what oven I should use. Again, I have the Rockbox, I have the Dome, and I have the Arc XL. The Rockbox is going to be the smaller oven. The Dome, the little bit bigger. I could do wood on one side and propane, and then the Arc XL, which is one of the biggest oven compared to the stone size. And I could, just do propane on that. So go ahead and answer the question there. I'll leave it up to you all. So Lee's asking, how much do you vary your yeast with changes in the weather? Honestly, I really don't uh, change too much with my yeast. What I really do is I do it with my water temperature. So again, if it's really, really hot outside, really, really hot inside, then I'm going to be using more of a colder water. Um, and so normally 30 degrees, 40 degrees Fahrenheit water, maybe a little bit more. But I want to use the colder water, so that's going to help the fermentation go a little bit slower because if it's hot inside. If it is hot inside or cold inside, then of course I want it to probably move a little bit quicker. So I'm using hotter water. So um, I really don't have a formula on how I do it, but again, just kind of depending. It's mainly just the water that I'm doing and changing that. I haven't really messed around too much with the yeast on that. Next question, why don't you use your mixer? Um, it just depends. If I'm doing a big batch, then I'll use my big mixer. I do have the FMOG mixer, and then I do have a smaller mixer. So it really kind of depends. But for the purpose of this video, I want to just do kneading by hand because, of course, a lot of people only have their hands. They don't have mixers. But yeah, so that's the reason. Well, maybe next live I could do one with one of my mixers. So I got the KitchenAid, so that's the smaller one. So I'm just going to keep kneading this. It's still not as smooth. You can see it's still a little sticky as well. but we're just letting it sit there for a minute to kind of help it. If you're just tuning in, I'm making some pizza dough for Sunday. All right, let's see if we got any questions here. All right, so far it is 50-50 on the poll. People are saying Arc XL or the Ruck Box, so let's get a couple more votes in there. All right. I'm going to continue kneading this just for a little bit longer. And I appreciate the people that have sticking around and watching. Sunday, we'll do a live video of making the pizza. All right, so at this point, what I want to do is I'm going to let this sit now for 15 minutes. I'm going to get it covered, let it sit for 15 minutes. This is just going to help the gluten relax a little bit, make it a little bit stronger. And you'll see right now it's still not as smooth, but after 15 minutes, you'll see the difference. So we'll do that. All right, so again, I'm gonna get this covered. I'm gonna set a timer now for 15 minutes. So we'll get that set. I'm gonna go ahead and mute the audio right now. Go ahead if you wanna check out, there's a poll going on right now to see which oven I'm gonna use on Sunday when I make my pizzas. Again, the Dome, Arc XL, or the Rock Box. So wash my hands and I'll be back shortly. All right, so I'm back. I had to catch my breath. Again, eating and speaking does take the breath out of you or the air out of you. But if you're just tuning in, we're making some live pizza dough. I got the dough resting here right now. And this is the recipe that we're going to be following. So if you want to take a screenshot. The top part of the recipe is what I normally do. Again, it's all based on baker's percentage. So I have videos on that as well if you want to check on my channel. But normally I would use 621 grams of flour. I use Double Zero Caputo Pizzeria flour. 403 grams, 0.65 of water, but I normally just do 404. 12.42 grams of salt, and 1.86 grams of yeast. So this is a 48-hour dough. So it's a slow fermentation, cold fermentation dough. But in today's recipe that I'm going to be doing is I'm doing 20% bread flour, so 124 grams of bread flour, 497 of double zero, 404 of water, 12.42 of salt, and 1.86 of yeast. This is a little experiment. Every once in a while, I'll do some bread flour in my recipe. Just kind of helps with the flavor. Just adds that little bit stronger authenticity to the dough as well. But I do have a poll going on. I'll have that to the end of the video. Um, but someone asked which oven am I going to be using. So I do have multiple ovens, all Gosney. I have the Gosney Dome, Arc XL, and the Rock Box. The Rock Box is the smaller portable oven. The Arc XL is the newest of the Gosneys, and it's a little bit bigger as far as like the stone size. And then I have the Dome, which is the dual fuel, so I can do propane or wood. I've been doing a lot of wood, so if you see the poll on your screen, go ahead and vote. Whatever gets the most. Right now it's tie 50-50, Arc XL and Rockbox. So just let me know, and I'll go ahead, and that's the oven I'll be using to make dough this coming week, on Sunday actually. If you have any questions, drop them down below, and I'll go and answer that as well. So Lee's asking, what is the biggest mistake you've made making dough? He goes on to say, I couldn't get the gluten to form one day and realized I grabbed the wrong flour. White Lily self-rising, ouch. So what is the biggest mistake I've made making dough? I guess possibly maybe adding, I guess it kind of really depends. Maybe there's times where I didn't add enough yeast. And so I was thinking that the dough was going to be ready in a certain amount of time. Well, unfortunately, because I didn't use the amount of yeast, I didn't take into consideration the room temperature. The dough just didn't, fully form. But I had people that were, ready to eat pizza, so it just didn't work out too well. And this was mainly at the beginning when I was making pizza. I just, didn't really take into consideration the amount of yeast I should be using, room temps, long fermentations. I was just, so eager to make pizzas. So that's one thing. Let me see what else. I think there's definitely been times where it's either been too hot inside in the room temperature, so dough was just overproofing, and then just ripping really easy because it was just so soft. So just not taking into consideration room temps. Never had any issues with flours. I do buy a 50-pound bag of Caputo Pizzeria flour, and so I do put that in this. This is just a food grade 5-gallon bucket, so I can put it all in there. So usually I pretty stay consistent with the amount of flour that I have, but I am using some bread flour, so King Arthur. Let's see, what other mistakes have I made? Maybe not kneading it enough, and so the dough's being really thin, weak. Again, just rushing into it, not kneading enough, allowing the gluten to form. So that is a mistake that I've learned from. Just taking the time, being consistent. I write down all my recipes, so I do have all my recipes here that I have. Stuff that if it worked out, then it worked out. Then I usually know which page to go to. Let's see. Yeah, I don't know. I've definitely made a lot of mistakes, but again, just learning from it and moving forward from that. Hydration 70. This dough recipe is going to be a 65% hydration. I used to do a lot of 70. It's just a lot harder to knead by hand. And I really don't think that it makes a difference in flavor or the way it's the crust is. Um, I found honestly using the Caputo Pizzeria flour um, and 65% I definitely taste a little bit more. 70% I really didn't taste too much, so I kind of stay between 65%. But I could definitely do some 70. Maybe I'll come out with another video. See if there is a difference in taste. I'll maybe can do like 65, 70, maybe 75, 80, or maybe 60, 70, 80. We can definitely do that. So yeah, good questions, good questions. I appreciate them. If you're just tuning in, I am making some live pizza dough. So I do have some dough here that I'm resting. This is the recipe that I'm doing. So if you want to take a screenshot and make this pizza dough, again, it's a 48-hour dough. You could do it in 24 hours, but I'm doing a 48-hour dough recipe. 24 hours in the fridge, bulk, big ball. Then another 24 hours in ball form, ball form. So once it's divided, and then I usually kind of do around, I don't know, maybe 4 to 6 hours again, depending on my room temperature. Uh, that kind of lets it get to room temp. You could do a cold dough, straight from the fridge into the oven. Sometimes it does tend to be a little hard to stretch, and that's usually where you'll get a lot of the what people like is the zebras or like the leoparding. So that's usually from cold dough. But right now in my house, we're looking at 64 degrees Fahrenheit. So definitely, investing in one of these just kind of helps out knowing what the temperature is. But we have about 5 minutes left on the timer. Then we'll go ahead and do another knead. So have I tried the Molino Bassini pizza flour? I have not, and I've never heard of it, but that is interesting. I'm gonna make sure that I take a look in and see if I'm able to get it. Usually, um, I try to get some of my flowers, especially if it's not normally sold here. I could get off of Amazon, so I'll definitely take a look at that. So I appreciate that. And again, I do have a poll. So if you're just tuning in, I'm making live pizza. I do have a poll to figure out what pizza oven I could use for this Sunday with the dough that I'm making here. So if you want to get your vote in, I have the Dome, I have an Arc XL, and the Rock Box all by Gosney. Lee is asking, do I have a link for your dough whisk and sauce spoon? I do. If you want to go to my profile, I do on my latest, full video. If you look down below in the description, there's going to be some affiliate links, and I believe I do have the dough whisk and the sauce spoon also on there. And anything that I use, it's all going to be on there as well. So definitely check it out. Helps me, helps the channel. So yeah, I appreciate you. So here's the bread flour, salt, the yeast. All right, so we're almost ready. 3 minutes. If you haven't already, again, screenshot the video, screenshot this. This is the dough recipe that I'm doing. It's a 48-hour dough recipe, 65% hydration for 4 pizzas, 260-gram dough balls. So again, this is the recipe here. 497 grams of double zero flour, 124 grams of bread flour, 404 grams of water, 12.42 grams of salt, 1.86 grams of yeast. If you didn't want to do the bread flour, then of course up here we have the recipe as 621 grams, 403, but you could do 404, it'll still get you 65% hydration, 12.42 grams of salt, and 1.86 grams of yeast. So RCS is asking, how do you achieve the ganato pizza? So like the big crust pizza. Um, that I think it all kind of depends on your stretching. When I'm doing my stretching, I like to go and leave about a one, an inch crust. But if you wanted to do a bigger crust, then of course you're not stretching all the way. So you would basically leave, about this much untouched, and that will definitely get you a big crust. Because anything that you put down on the pizza up to that point is going to stay down. So usually, like I said, I like to do a small part. Biga, I hear Biga does that a lot. If you're using, making a Biga pizza dough. But honestly, I think you could do it really in anything, any type of dough to get that big crust. Again, it's just basically just the way that you're stretching it as well. But I personally like a thin, smaller crust. I don't really care too much for super big crust. Um, and again, that's just my personal opinion. But again, I don't do too much of a big crust on there. So I want to taste the toppings. I do want to get some of that crust, but I think a small crust you can still get, the flavor that you're looking for. So what do I prefer, Biga or Polish? Um, I used to do a lot of Polish when I first started. I learned from Vito. I did get his master class, so I did learn, and that's kind of also what helped me to get where I'm at now. Just watching his videos and joining his master class, getting learning a little bit more. But I did used to do a lot of Polish, and I think I would possibly say that I like more. I didn't haven't really done too much Biga, um, but I definitely should do it. I just don't. So to answer your question, I would say Polish for sure. So let's turn off that timer. But I think both, definitely have their qualities of, flavor wise. I just haven't really messed too much with Biga. All right, so the timer is now off. Let's go ahead and take a look at this dough. And so it's a lot more relaxed, a little cold, but I did use just a little bit of cooler water. And so now at this point, you can see that it's a little bit stronger. I'm gonna go ahead and just knead it a little bit more. Again, I'm just leaving it in the bowl here. And I'm just kneading it and just adding in that air to it. All right. And so now, as you can see, it's definitely getting a little bit more smoother. It definitely can be a lot more smoother, which is what you want to aim for. So again, at this point, I'm going to go ahead, cover it back up and let it sit for another 15 minutes. So I just got the timer. I'm going to go ahead and just get my hands washed and I'll mute this video. All right, so I just kneaded it and I'm gonna go ahead and let it rest a little bit longer. As you can see, it's getting a lot smoother over here. Not as smooth, but we'll do one last 15-minute resting period. And that's just gonna help build the glue and it's gonna also make it a lot smoother and stronger. And at that point, we'll then be ready to put it in the fridge. So we'll let that timer go. You guys got any questions? I'll be happy to answer any more questions. If you're just tuning in, I'm making some live pizza dough. And so this is the recipe down below here. And so if you want to screenshot that, and I appreciate everyone for tuning in, asking the questions. Some good questions here. Is anyone making pizza down below? If anyone's making pizzas, comment, like this video. Again, I do have a poll down below of what oven I should use for Sunday when I do make pizzas, which of course I'll be using this pizza dough. So down below I have the Dome Arc XL and the Rockbox. If you see the poll, you may need to scroll somewhere. I'm not sure where it shows up on your screen, but if you want to get an answer there, right now the Arc XL and the Rockbox are both tie. So RS or RCS is asking what temp should Pizza Stone reach in an Uni Pizza 12. So I'm assuming the code of 12 before launching in the pizza. Uh, so when I had my Uni 12, um, I would do roughly around 850 degrees Fahrenheit. Celsius would be what, around 430 something, I believe it is. But yeah, I would say anywhere around that range between 800 and 850 is going to be perfect for that oven, only because it is such a small, thinner stone. Uh, your first pizza is going to cool that stone down just a little bit. So like I said, I like to shoot between 850, as the max. You launch it in, and then after you continue putting pizzas in, getting that flame on, it kind of drops it down. It would kind of keep it consistent. Anything higher than that, it's gonna burn the bottom, and you don't want that. So yeah, I would say anywhere between 800 850. And just making sure again, because it is the code of 12, that once you launch the pizza in, you're turning down that flame so that way the bottom and the crust can cook, pretty evenly. And just for any ovens, again, 850 Fahrenheit, 432, I believe, Celsius is where you're gonna want to be cooking pizzas at. So yeah, if you're just tuning in, making some live pizza dough, or again, this is the recipe, so screenshot that. But I do have some dough here that I'm resting, and again, it's a 48-hour pizza dough. So this is the recipe here. So again, I appreciate everyone for tuning in, watching this live video, first live video. Again, I'm making some live pizza dough. If you are just tuning in, you basically missed everything so far, making the dough. But again, this is the recipe here that I'm making. This is just with regular 00 pizza flour, 4 pizzas at 260 grams, 65% hydration. And it is a 48-hour dough recipe that I'm doing. This is 24-hour, but you could do 24s. If you do 24, it's around 18 or so. Bulk fermentation, meaning the full dough ball, and then about 6 hours at room temp with your dough balls ready formed. You would do 6 hours at room temp, and then at that point, you're ready to cook. That's the 24 hours, 48-hour dough. It's 24 hours in bulk fermentation, so the big dough ball in the refrigerator for 48 or 24 hours. Take it out and you separate it by your dough balls, so 260-gram dough balls. Put it back in the fridge for about another 18 hours, and then 6 hours at room temp to get your dough balls to that room temp, and then you're ready to make. So we're doing the first step today. I won't show you guys the second step of making the dough balls the next day, but we'll come back for part two when I do make pizza. So I do have a poll on my page right now asking what oven I should use. I do have Gosney ovens only. So I have the Dome, Arc XL, and the Rock Box. So get your vote in, which oven you want me to cook with, and I'd happy to do so. Lee's asking, what are some of your favorite topping combinations? He then goes on to say, I struggle with falling into a rut with mine and appreciate ideas on new things to try. So my favorite combinations are always going to be, well, I do like an Italian sausage with kale, on a red sauce. So red sauce down, you go with you can put your kale before the cheese, your mozzarella, and Italian sausage. I like that combination. That's a pretty good one. Other one that I also do a lot is going to be, um, let's see, it's red sauce, roasted garlic, mozzarella, pepperoni, chopped basil, or you could do full basil. Cook in the oven, and at the end of the oven, you can go ahead and put on hot honey and sriracha. I like that combination a little bit. A lot of toppings, but it is pretty good. Let's see what else are some good combinations. I'm from New Mexico, so we have a lot of green chili. So any pepperoni green chili is always good. Um, or one that I do like as well. Pretty simple, just olive oil base, mozzarella, roasted garlic. Pretty simple, but I think that one's pretty good. Let's see, anything with garlic is usually pretty good. Just experiment. That's one thing that I've learned is just trying new things. You see someone else do it, give it a try. If you don't like it, then you don't like it, then you move on and try a different one. But always just experimenting. Doing some Google searches. What's toppings, or what veggies are seasonal in your area. That's one way to kind of experiment with that. Watching YouTube videos, watching Instagram videos, TikToks. Uh, if it's someone that's just making a regular dish, um, then maybe it might be good, on a pizza. So I get a lot of my inspiration just from watching other people. So that's how I kind of just throw some toppings together there. Uh, but yeah, just kind of experimenting. Can we make Napo pizza with APF, so all-purpose flour? Yeah, you definitely can. Um, yeah, I don't see why you shouldn't be able to, but yeah, definitely you can make really any type of flour, um, any type of dough with bread flour, whatever is available to you. Um, different flavors for sure that you'll get with the different flours. But yeah, just kind of experimenting and using different flours. Yeah, you can definitely use some all-purpose. Yeah, so I definitely see a lot of people, yeah, especially definitely Adam, Pelling Pizza, awesome dude. I like watching his videos, a lot of his lives. He's just a super cool guy. Check him out on Instagram. Just makes some really good pizza. So shout out to Pelling Pizza. But yeah, in Duja, I definitely have been wanting to try a lot of it. We don't have it where I'm locally at as well. Um, but I would want to get my hands on some and try some. I know there's some websites that do sell it and ship it from Italy. Little pricey, so maybe next year I could get my hands on some and give it a try. Um, can't remember the websites that has it, but depending where you're at, do a Google search and see where you're at. I'm in the United States, so I know I can find some. I've tried to go to some Italian markets that I have here. They don't carry any of it for whatever reason. I've asked some, a couple people if they can, but just not sure why or why they're not able to. But yeah, if you're just tuning in, I'm making some pizza dough. This is the recipe. So Uh, I'm sure by now you've probably screenshotted it. This is the dough here, which we've been resting and starting to look pretty good. We got about 3 minutes left on that timer. But comment, drop a comment who has some pizza ovens. Are you hoping maybe to get one for the Christmas holidays, or you're saving one money to get one? Drop a comment down below. If you have any questions on specific ovens, I've had the Unis, and I currently now use Gosney. Those are the two big brands. So I do have some experience with using the ovens. I could give you some tips. Maybe hopefully get you to buy an oven if you're still on the edge. But yeah, let me know. If you guys have home ovens, maybe I could do a little bit more now that weather is a little bit colder. Maybe I could do some more home oven videos as well. I do have a stone that I could use in the oven, so maybe I'll do that. But if you're just tuning in again, thank you for tuning in, making some live pizza dough. This is the recipe here below. Red sauce, sliced Spanish chorizo, and sliced Fresno peppers topped with hot honey. Ooh, that sounds good. Sounds spicy. And I think kind of what I've learned or what I've kind of Googled and heard, the Mexican chorizo and the induja pretty similar, I think. Um, and I think it's just more Italian chorizo and the Mexican chorizo. And don't correct me if I'm wrong. Don't take my word for it, but again, that's kind of what I've learned. I'm sure there's some difference in flavors, um, but yeah, we have chorizo here in New Mexico, and United States, and I think in Italy they have induja, which is maybe pretty similar. But hey, that does sound pretty good. I meant to try that chorizo, Fresno peppers, and the red sauce, hot honey. That does sound pretty good. I have made some pizzas with chorizo. Check out my Instagram. I think I have one that came straight out of the Gosney cookbook, but I believe it had chorizo, corn, some sort of like a crema on a white base. Very, very good. Let me see. I'm gonna get. Yeah. So we got 30 seconds left. I'm gonna go ahead and get this on it here. Get this timer off. And again, I appreciate everyone for sticking along. This video is now about an hour, 3 minutes. But again, this is a live pizza dough recipe video. All right, so we've now done 2 resting periods of 15 minutes. Just letting that dough build its gluten, get strong. As we can take a look here now, dough is pretty strong. It's not ripping. A little smooth, but not as smooth yet. A little sticky. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go ahead and just knead this just a little bit longer. And doing these resting periods, like I said, helps with the gluten, helps build it stronger. I normally do 2 to 3. It kind of just depends what I'm filling. Especially when I'm doing hand kneading, it just helps out a lot. But now, as you can see, it's getting a little bit stronger. It's a lot smoother from earlier, so that's a good sign. Our bowl's pretty clean from kneading it on here. Again, no mess here, so that's why I like to use a bowl. But I think at this point, I feel pretty good about this dough. It's just going to continue getting stronger as well in the fridge. But let's take a look and see. So I feel like this dough is pretty good. What I'm going to do now at this point is I'm going to go ahead and get it in an oil bowl and put it in the fridge. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. Give me 1 second. All right, so if you're just tuning in, I'm making some live pizza dough. Basically at the end already, where I'm gonna put this into the fridge. So right here I have a bowl. This is the plastic Tupperware that I put some oil in there. And so I'm just gonna go ahead. That way it's not sticking in here. All right, I can just get some on my hands too. But I'm taking out my dough. And I'm just making a big dough ball here. And so it's a big dough ball. Plopping it down into my bowl. I'm gonna go ahead and get this covered up, and I'm gonna get it straight into the fridge. So I'll be back. All right, so that's going straight into the fridge. It's gonna rest there for 48 or 24 hours. The next day I'll come back. I'll do my dough balls in another 18 hours in the refrigerator, and then 6 hours at room temp. So 48 hours. Sunday I'll be making some pizza. Today is Friday. Here is the recipe. So let me come around. All right, so here is the recipe that I'm going to be doing. Again, take some screenshots here. But really at this point, I think we are done to finishing up doing this live video. Again, I appreciate everyone that tuned in. Thank you again to everyone that's asked questions and stuck around. Come back Sunday. I'll go ahead and post in the community tab around what time we'll be making pizza. So make sure you turn on that bell notification to be notified when I'm making some pizzas. Again, it'll be a live video. I'll show you guys how I make some pizza. So again, appreciate you all. Thank you and have a great night.